echoing the point that I've been making for years. I'm Alex Ansary. It's April 20th in the year 2018. They want people to go numb. And so people are bombarded with various fears, movies, and things that make it appear that we're on the edge. And these are the types of things that can produce a very sick population, at the very least psychologically, a population that's actually willing to die or do things that can result in harm to themselves or others. It's a PTSD society. It's a society that's under the spell of wars and rumors of war, where the puppeteers can actually manufacture events to make things look biblical. And so we live in a reality where society is being socially engineered to disdain the human being that is attempting to warn them. And as I've also said, people get that label of being a fearmonger by reporting on the things that are currently taking place. But how does that labeling take place? How does that person find themselves under that level of mind control to where they're attacking their fellow brother and sister for trying to report on things that affect their health, wellness, basically their very lives? Why are those people seen as the enemy? Because of the infiltration. By design, various movements have been infiltrated for multiple decades to make the people that are trying to do the right thing, people that are involved in activism, people that are writing counterculture books, to make them the target. And you know what? There wasn't such a great divide between left and right in the past. This is a fairly new phenomenon. And so we have witch hunts that are taking place, people calling for other people to lose their freedom or free speech. On both sides of the conflict, we're seeing this anger rise. And so for me, balancing spiritual ideas, but also updates on what's going on in the world, it's a tightrope. It cannot be something that is delivered like others deliver it. We may have been able to get away with that in the past more so, because things were less defined. And in recent years, the depths of corruption of certain people in the alternative media as well as the mainstream media has become more clearly defined, where it was not so clearly defined 10 years ago. Now it is. So there's a separation, if you will, to a certain degree, and it seems to be a part of nature, but those that are serving the darker interests or agenda, and those that are on another path, a more individual path. Now, today's video on this topic, I wanted to keep really simple and on topic. But see, we're being bombarded now, and people may not be of the opinion that they're being deliberately bombarded. To them, they're looking at what's happening in the news with Iran, or what's happening with North Korea, or what's happening at the moment with Syria. And they could see the war drums build up to a fever pitch and see nothing happen, and then go, oh, nothing even happened. Oh, that was just like, and they ended up working it out, and that was cool. But see, in their mind, they worked it out. In their mind, because that was how it was meant to be perceived, that we were on the verge of something, and instead of things going in a certain direction, things ended up working out in the favor of peace. And it leads to a fallacy, to a false worldview, that we are heading towards a world of greater peace. They don't think about both the East and the West conspiring together to foment conflict in the Middle East. And still we see a repeat of patterns. We can go back to North Korea. We could see those in the alternative media capitalize then, like they did recently. Ooh, Trump might do this to Syria. Ooh, smart bombs. And yes, these are real headlines. But when you know that someone knows better because, I don't know, maybe they've been publicly involved in conspiratorial thought for over a decade, you know what that includes, right? It's the idea of the hidden hand controlling both sides. So if someone's already been exposed to that train of thought, to speakers and people that present information, to only act like they're forgetting that with regards to Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump, they can't foresee a hidden hand. that would manufacture a conflict between East and the West. That supersedes the idea of governments. That supersedes conversations going on at the Bilderberg Group through those supposed leaks. Yeah. Daniel Estulin, that's not really a name that has stuck around more than a few years, in all seriousness. And I say that to talk about and reflect on the time period in which I met Daniel Estulin. And I'll talk about more in a book about my life and all the different people that I've met in the alternative media. From Jack Blood to Alex Jones to these particular individuals. And as brief as the handshakes may have been, but just the reality of Anthony J. Hilder, Freeman, the reality of knowing some of these people behind the scenes, very different than what you might think. You know, and it was really, really important for me to go my own way years ago. From being so active with interviews and a fairy tale understanding. Because I've seen a lot of people discount my warnings over the years. And regarding my warnings of 2025, and what I think people will do as we get closer to this event and things get more real, you know, they'll continue to act like I never warned them. They'll continue to act like I never put out information way in advance and stayed away from left-right paradigm nonsense, where others didn't refrain from that and still got involved in that Democrat-Republican nonsense. They won't cite me in the end. And I think for history's sake, and what needs to be said now, right, is before all those people supposedly wake up to, oh my God, we've been thrown under the bus, we're heading towards this event. I've been talking about this most of my life while holding a microphone. We're sitting somewhere in front of a camera. Whether I was in Portland, Oregon talking to you in front of the camera, or whether I was in Costilla County in some sort of a desert-like environment talking to you in front of a camera, or whether I was somewhere else in Colorado, a national forest going hiking, talking to you in front of a camera, or whether I was in Kansas City, Missouri, or whether I was in Dallas, Texas, or whether I was in Tampa Bay, Florida, talking to you in front of a camera. It was always coming down to the stage-managed World War III scenario, and collecting my last thoughts, I want to keep this brief, is see if they can numb people out and create enemies out of the people trying to warn people. How can people like me be effective in saving lives? In helping people to see the value in off-grid living, see the value in private property rights, see the value in going outside the left-right paradigm, see the value in being aware. And see, here's what they're doing with their false sense of security. Just like I talk about the cell phone. Here's a false sense of security. It can replace men. Hey, all you need to do was call 911 if there is a bad situation. But that's not really preparing someone for life after the cell phone. If something were to interrupt their communications, be it something from the sun or something just like an EMP that would take out the grid, that would take out the cell phone towers, that would take out that woman's beeline to government-sanctioned protection. And see, if people think about these things, if an event were to occur that is along those lines of an EMP or a solar event, they might have the common sense to get out of Dodge while there's time, because they've already been warned about these potential outcomes. They're not going to sit there for days just like wondering what's going on. Like, if you have a cell phone and the power goes out and your signal goes out and the power is out around you and there isn't like a noticeable storm, that's a sign of something big. You know, and so instead of somebody waiting for days and days and checking the radio stations for news and information, they should have a plan. I should come back with a separate video with a separate focus on just that preparedness mindset. But see, this is ultimately the best place to close. You're responsible for your own survival. So someone should be in a prepared state of mind. They shouldn't be in a panic state of mind. You know, just like the way I'm starting to approach health and fitness, you know, trying to get some form of exercise into the form of push-ups and crunches and things like that on a more regular basis, to be in a state of readiness, to be in a state of proper health, to not let myself go. And a lot of people now are letting themselves go. And that's the value that I'm placing on the digital detox. And I'm actually going to be living it in just a few days. Going into May, going into June, my first digital detox, going deeper into my truth and stepping back away from the stimuli of the mainstream media mind control that's out there, that's also catapulted by the alternative media, but also just the automatic reaction to events, be them manufactured or be them natural. And see, with the internet, with world events being magnified, sometimes we need to step back from being reactionary to ultimately be at our sharpest, which is at the cornerstone of being prepared, is to be healthy in mind, body, and spirit. To be healthy in mind is to have a sharp mind, to have a disciplined mind, not an addicted mind, but a mind disciplined enough to go without. That is the mind that is needed. A mind that is sensitive enough, not a mind that is dull from watching this after that and being addicted to the newswire or particular media personalities or even this channel or any addiction whatsoever. We should all ask ourselves what our addictions and our obsessions happen to be. Because that is the continuation of wisdom coming to a being, as far as I'm concerned, someone willing to do reality checks and look at their own media addictions to particular streams. People may not agree with the particular opinions that I may happen to share, but they're the ones, A, listening to this channel, and B, they're my opinions. They're my ideas. And that's the magic of not working for a corporation directly. Speaking your own truth. Not showing up somewhere at a radio station at 5 o'clock in the morning to, report the news in the local traffic report. And, I could have gone in that reality. I believe that I have the abilities. But see, once you go down a certain path, right, of warning people about something impending, a lot of people are going to discount everything else that that person says because of their ego. A lot of people's tough guy and tough girl ego tells them that our world isn't really going to be facing that type of a fire. Right? That's the tough guy ego that people aren't able to deal with. That Obama wasn't really bringing change we can believe in. That Donald Trump isn't making America great again. It's the ego of today's Democrat and Republican. It's ego. They aren't able to come to terms with the fact that our country has already been sold, the ground under our feet. That China is going to be playing a more active role in anti-Second Amendment rhetoric within the United States. That they've actually made statements in the past about their interest in disarmament. This is a very, very naive society. Not only would it not realize the very people that are trying to help it and warn it, it will continue to watch those media sources that have provenly not called this. That have provenly not called this. That have provenly taken the bait and fallen for it somehow. That type of delivery, those types of personalities and individuals, that consciousness is more comfortable to them, even with their media figures being wrong multiple times about change we can believe in, to make America great again. So this is not a society yet that is still not humble enough yet to listen to those voices of reason that have warned them about this coming World War III conflict before 2025, apexing in and around that time period. And I can remember living in Portland, Oregon, talking about this stuff, and in my imagination, sensing that future reality of missiles showering down upon the West Coast city. And just an urgency and just this natural preparedness type of one day people are going to be heading east in large numbers. I've got to get out of here. And that just being a part of my psychology for years before I can get off the grid. And once I actually did get off the grid for the first time in Costilla County, I would be coming back to Portland, Oregon, as I share with you a journal entry of in April 2014, only to be leaving in April 2015. Find myself back in Costilla County as they were kicking people off their land, only to warn others that those issues were going on. And looking towards the future, honestly, as I said before in a recent video, I'd like to be wrong about some of the things that I see coming, but I don't believe that I am. I'd like to be there to be time, for me to go out in the world and maybe work with a media organization. Somebody that might have respect for my work instead of it just being one-sided or me having to do some brown nosing. But to actually work with someone that respects my work for it and what it is. You know, not expecting it to fit into a left-right paradigm. Not expecting my talking points to fit in line with somebody else. Not seeing the things that I say being marginalized as something that's someone's perceived political enemy, but respected for what it is. And I haven't seen any sign of that. All that I've seen, ladies and gentlemen, is confirmation of everything that I've warned you about in slow motion, and that's what has me concerned. So I think that there's a lot of work on my plate, and I'm lucky, I think, to at least have the knowledge that I have in this year of 2018. And to know in my heart and in my mind, which I do, that there still is time. There is time to do good with this knowledge, to not use this knowledge that we may have some impending events around the corner to manipulate people and do unnecessary sales, but to actually encourage people to start thinking about these things, to start thinking a little closer about their actions in this world. You know, just having land and just having items isn't all that you need. I've already seen evidence of the Creator stepping forward into my own life and, if you will, delivering an angel during periods in which a car has been broken down or other things. And I really think that we're going to be leaning on that type of big brother in the sky type of reality, the Father in the sky reality, situations to where a miracle is needed, to where we may be outnumbered, in situations to where we don't have food, you know, and our body is praying for the strength to go on, where we may not have water, you know, where the one thing that we need, metaphorically and literally speaking, to lift that car up over our injured friend is that spirit to survive, to protect our family, to protect our tribe. You see, over time, people have been bombarded with media, from the television set to the addiction to the YouTube, to the information being controlled on both the left and the right. So we've traveled a very extensive journey. From people going from the day and age, from the book to the television set, to the evolution to VHS, to DVD, to watch whatever you want for free, basically, and never unplug and live in your virtual reality and call yourself woke. You know, we've traveled a really long way from one in which we used to have to know each other, and now it's this back and forth digital communication. And so where this is going to go, where the hive mind is going to go, you know, I don't have all the answers, but I'm going to continue to narrate it. What I can say is my internet's going to be cut in a few days now, and so I'm making extra videos before that happens. A friend's going to be visiting, and we're going to be doing some joint podcasts, and then I'll be doing a lot of videos in May and June, and spending more time creating content than consuming content, and talking more about the digital detox and what that means for me, and how it's expressing itself in my own life, and how it can express itself in your own life if you also are unconsciously addicted in some way, shape, or form to multimedia content. But see, we are at this point where that addiction to multimedia content and people getting too much false alarms about World War III, it's causing people to shut down. And that's the overall thesis that we've been coming back to over and over and over again, many videos, but especially this podcast, is that has been the intention of the over-reporting on World War III and the false alarms and the crying wolf, is to cause shutdown in the society. That's the last thing that I want to see happen. The last thing that I can allow to happen within myself is burnout. I'm one of those individuals that has to go the distance. I'm one of those few individuals that will be seen over the course of a decade warning of this event, of the artificial rise of China and Russia over the United States, surpassing our abilities in space, seemingly surpassing our abilities in other weapons. It's not an accident that the U.S. has been designated to take a fall. There's only going to be a few people, if any, that are going to be seen over the course of a full decade or more before the event that are discussing it. I'm one of those individuals. I'm a person that has to go the distance. So you will see more content from me on this topic, but when we start getting specific, and I'm not speaking in generalities like I am in this, but we're getting specific into who did what to who, jets being shot down, and specific threats, and things getting a little bit more real and in our face. I'm concerned about my own YouTube channel. Okay. And how hot it is to cover these topics. So you're going to see a lot more real reporting on outsideTheBox.vhx.tv as the year goes on.